I am merely an orphan girl raised by the Duke of Zhengguo's household, yet I have long admired Fu Lin, the only son of the Duke of Zhengguo. In my pursuit of him, I spared no effort. With a dose of aphrodisiac, I achieved my wish and became his wife. Everyone in the capital says that I would stop at nothing to climb the social ladder. I think he must have thought the same. 10 years of neglect had worn away all my girlish flutterings. I despaired, screamed, and became unrecognizable. He simply sat calmly at his study desk, as if watching a madman. Isn't this all you wanted? You've got your status as the prince's consort. What more could you be dissatisfied with? A snowy night quietly took away my life. If I could live again, I would be content and obedient, and I would never fall in love with him again. This year's winter snow is exceptionally cold, Your Highness. The one in Liuzhu Pavilion has passed away. Fu Lin's hand paused, and the ink from the tip of his brush spread into a blot on the official document. Is it another act? She had played out such scenes countless times. 10 years ago, she drugged him and climbed into his bed despite his anger. Out of respect for his mother, he still married her. She should have been content, living quietly with the title of prince's wife she had schemed so hard to obtain. Yet he was never satisfied, demanding new ways to stir up trouble every day. Even though she knew he would never come to her room, she still refused to let it go. With the endless official duties he had to handle each day, he simply couldn't spare the time to indulge in this childish game of love with her. This time, it's not just for show that one slit their wrists. The snow was all blood. When they were found, the person was already pale and lifeless. A snowflake drifted in from outside the windowsill and landed on the desk. He lifted his sleeve to brush it away. Light and indifferent, utterly unconcerned, he said, "Bury her properly." His tone was indifferent, as if the deceased was not his wife, but merely a stranger. As the only son of the Duke of the State, the heavy burden of his family did not allow him to possess emotions. She should have known earlier that the love she sought, he could not give. Reaching this point, ultimately, it was her own fault too. Scattered snowflakes drifted through the streets, and looking ahead, the street was bustling with people. Another year, the Lantern Festival arrived. "Miss, congratulations on guessing the lantern riddle correctly. This is your rabbit lantern." I stood frozen in place, hesitating to take it. "Miss, what are you standing there for? Take it quickly. This is the biggest prize." My maid Xiao Dao called me. I came to my senses and turned to look at her, tears welling up in the corners of my eyes. "Xiao Dao, it really is you. Being a prince's consort is no easy task. Fu Lin's courtyard is as secure as a fortress. Those who wish to harm him cannot break in, so they redirect their anger towards me." Xiao Dao took a knife for me, and her blood stained my entire arm. I cried as I held her, unable to speak through my sobs. Fu Lin arrived late with his men, saving me from the blade's edge, but Xiao Dao was left behind forever that night. The courtyard was filled with the stench of blood. Fu Lin left with the bound assassin, not leaving a single word behind. Xiao Dao was my maidservant and also my childhood playmate. Without Xiao Dao, the cold nights in Liuzhu Pavilion grew even colder. In this square courtyard, I raged, wept, harmed myself, and smashed things, but no one cared. My emotions went unseen, withering away through the turning of seasons, until I crumbled into dust and died in a forgotten corner. In my previous life, I recklessly pursued someone who wasn't mine, and I have no one to blame but myself. I've tasted the bitter fruit, but those nights were too cold, and I never want to return. 3. The rabbit lantern is mine. Fu Shui snatched the lantern, her tone arrogant. "I told you before, when I, the young mistress, set my eyes on something, you should go back and get the silver. Can't you understand plain words, boss?" The boss forced a smile on his face. "Miss, this lantern is just a prize for the riddle game and isn't for sale. Since this young lady guessed correctly, the rabbit lantern should belong to her." Fu Shui turned her head to look at me. "Hey, Qiao Jiyuan, you're just a foster daughter in my household. You have no father, no mother, no one to rely on. If you beg well, I might give you a bowl of rice. Trying to compete with me for things. Do you even deserve it?" I took the rabbit lantern. "If you dare to go back and tattle, I'll make sure you regret it." With her light-footed martial arts, she gracefully flipped onto the roof and left. Xiao Dao stamped her foot in anger. "How utterly despicable. When I get back, I must tell the Duke's wife about this. I held her hand, my tone calm. Xiao Dao, it's all right, we can just go look elsewhere. The Duchess had been close friends with my mother. Seeing my pitiful situation, she took me in to live in her residence. Perhaps seeing my sensitive nature, they showed a bit more care after it happened many times. Fu Shui naturally grew jealous and took her anger out on me in the past. I didn't understand and always tried to please her, hoping to win a bit of her affection. Now, having lived a second life, I feel a bit more at ease. Why force something you like? For I turned around, my nose bumping heavily against the man's firm chest. The man grabbed my shoulder with his large hand, steadying my stumbling figure. Seeing the redness at the corners of my eyes, he paused for a moment before speaking coldly. It's just a rabbit lantern. Yet you're so upset, I choked. Those were tears of joy upon seeing Xiao Dao again after thinking she was lost. How could someone as cold-hearted as him understand? I just didn't expect, having died once and meeting him again. My heart was as calm as stagnant water, without any stirring. In the end, all that happened in my past life was my own fault. He neglected me, but I do not blame him. When I think about it, it was I who held him back. He was originally betrothed to the eldest daughter of the Prime Minister. If not for me, he should have married a virtuous and gentle woman whose family could assist him in the official circles, sharing a harmonious and lifelong partnership. Yet he has spent 10 years entangled with me, a helpless madwoman. Now, I only regard him as the son of my benefactor, a brother whom I should respect. I took a step back, evading the hand on my shoulder, my eyes clear and pure. Hello, Brother A Ling. 5. Brother A Ling was the title I was instructed to use by the Duchess when I first entered the mansion. Back then, after my parents passed away, I cried with red, swollen eyes in the Duchess's embrace. Still a youth, he was dressed in black, standing tall and straight like a pine tree. Though his expression was cold, he clumsily offered me a piece of candy. The world mocked me as a vain, social climbing consort, but in truth, it was love that led me to make a mistake. I loved the tender heart hidden beneath his icy exterior. I loved the words he comforted me with when my parents died on the battlefield. They died for what they sought, and their deaths were worthy, as they were respected heroes of the world. Some cursed my father for being reckless, causing the deaths of 3,000 soldiers at the border, but it was clearly because my father took the head of the Southern Frontiers victorious general that the later great victory at the border was secured. They gave their lives to ensure a century of peace without the smoke of war over 100 miles of land. General Liu and General Shun shall be remembered in the annals of history. He respected women. Addressing my mother by her surname, he respected every soldier who shed their blood and laid down their lives on the frontier. How could I not love someone so pure-hearted? In truth, if it were him, even if we had to eat chaff and swallow vegetables, I would find it sweet. But no one believed it. After all, he was the unparalleled noble son. 6. Seeing me call him elder brother, Fu Ling's expression clearly faltered. She used to call him by his courtesy name. When Yun today, she addresses him respectfully as elder brother. In truth, he is not unaware of her feelings, but she is not the woman he envisions as his princess. Now that she has withdrawn her thoughts, it has spared her unnecessary trouble. I just won it on that street. Take it. The servant beside her handed over a lantern, more exquisite than the rabbit lantern. I smiled faintly. Thank you, Brother A Ling. I took it and handed it to my maid, Xiao Dao. 7. In my previous life, I was indeed left in tears by Fu Shui. He brought this lantern to cheer me up. It was merely something he casually discarded, yet I took it and cherished it carefully, not allowing anyone else to touch it. Because of this lamp, in my past life, I tossed and turned in bed, too sweetly to fall asleep. I thought I had finally persevered through the clouds to see the moon, that I had lit him up. In reality, he was just afraid that the matter between me and Fu Shui would reach our mother and upset her again. This time, it won't happen again. I will put away my thoughts. I will behave properly from now on. We will coexist peacefully and have nothing to do with each other. I did not want to get entangled with him, so I curtsied and said, Brother A Ling, I won't disturb you anymore. I plan to go for a stroll up ahead. Seeing me leave, the servant beside him was so shocked that his mouth gaped open. Miss Ji Yuan is quite different today. In the past, Miss Ji-yuan seemed unable to speak in front of the young master. Her tone was affected, so sweet and cloying it could squeeze out oil. Just now, when Miss Ji-yuan passed by the young master, he had already prepared himself for her pretending to stumble so she could throw herself at the young master, and he was ready to block her unexpectedly. She remained calm and moved with graceful steps. Did she walk past? Your Highness, when something unusual happens, there must be a reason. I think Miss Ji-yuan is definitely planning something big, Chang Song said with a serious tone. The prince glanced at him lightly. Noisy. He wasn't concerned about her unusual behavior. If she could remain obedient and sensible, he wouldn't have to put his mother in a difficult position anymore. 8. Did Shuai give you a hard time again last night? The noble and dignified Duchess of the state entered my courtyard, her face filled with anger. I truly believe she has lost her conscience. If it weren't for her wet nurse telling me, I wouldn't have known she dared to make jokes about your deceased parents. Just wait. When that wild girl finishes her frenzy and returns, I will definitely punish her by making her kneel in the ancestral hall. Her words kept flowing, but she didn't notice the tears welling up in my eyes. Madam, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I dove into her arms like a bird, quietly sobbing. In my previous life, I resorted to any means necessary to climb into Fu Lin's bed. Everyone looked down on me with disdain, and I also saw the disappointment in the eyes of the Duke's wife. Although she disliked my methods, for the sake of my dignity, she still prepared a lavish dowry for me. Your wedding with Fu Lin is scheduled in 10 days. I have helped you this far. From now on, do not come looking for me again. Our bond is over. The incident of climbing into bed exhausted the 5 years of mother-daughter affection between her and me, and also exhausted the friendship between her and my mother. No one could have expected that the daughter of a noble family would bring such disgrace upon her lineage, shamelessly discarding her dignity in order to reach Fu Lin. I lost so much. I lost myself, my protector, the Duchess, and tarnished the reputation my parents had spent their entire lives trying to uphold. I truly know I was wrong. 9. The Duchess patted my back, her heart aching. It seems you were truly bullied badly, my dear child, to cry like this. I shook my head, sniffled. No, it's just that I missed you. This time when you returned to your hometown in Jiangnan to visit your family, you were gone for several months. She chuckled affectionately, saying, you truly are my warm little coat. This time, I've found several young gentlemen for you to consider. Are you really not going to the flower viewing banquet? There's a top scholar from Jiangnan, a distant cousin of mine, named Xiaheng. Although his father is just a 6th-rank official, he himself is quite handsome and upright, and is sure to have a bright future. Moreover, with me here, he wouldn't dare treat you poorly. I want to arrange for you to meet him. What do you think? In my previous life, she had also nagged about this, truly speaking from the heart and considering everything for me, but my heart was only for Fu Lin, and I firmly refused. This time is different. I leave it to your discretion. I feigned shyness, going along with her words. Seeing me agree so readily, the lady was somewhat taken aback. After a moment's pause, she took my hand and said, it's good that you've come to understand. She was not unaware of Ji Yuan's feelings for Fu Lin. Ji Yuan is romantic and naive, while her son is deep and ruthless, having grown up in a world of power struggles and schemes since childhood. The Duke of Zhengguo's estate needs a meticulous and strategic mistress to secure a foothold in this vast and complex household. In the end, they are not suited to be together. 10. The flower viewing banquet is set in the rear courtyard of the Prime Minister's residence. In the courtyard, the invited young masters and ladies were dressed in splendid attire. Some admired flowers under the trees, some played pitchpot in the courtyard, and others watched fish from the covered bridge. When the young people's eyes met, there was a hint of barely noticeable shyness hidden in their gazes. I wore a peach-pink dress and sat under the pavilion, sipping tea. Xiao Dao stood to my left, teasing, Miss, you look so beautiful today. If the top scholar sees you, he'll probably blush and lose his way. After our long talk last night, Xiao Dao was overjoyed to learn that I had let go of the prince. I've been wanting to say this for a long time, that noble son may be handsome, but he looks cold and unfeeling, not someone who Would be affectionate, a gentle and soft-spoken lady like you should find a husband who knows how to care for you. So, to help me find a good husband at the flower viewing banquet, she got up early to help me dress and do my makeup. A young lady like you should wear these lively and delicate colors. Wearing such dull and old-fashioned clothes all the time doesn't do justice to your flower-like beauty. Fu Lin is steady and reserved, not fond of bright colors. To please him, I also started wearing dark-colored dresses, but unsuitable is unsuitable. No matter how hard I try, it still feels awkward. 11. I wonder what the top scholar looks like. If he's ugly, he really wouldn't be a good match for our young lady. I stuffed a pastry into her mouth. Xiao Dao. Don't gossip about others behind their backs. In my previous life, I sought mutual love and deep affection. Having lived another life, I have no expectations for marriage. I only hope that the person is of good character, and that we can respect each other as equals. Oh, I wonder what my appearance is like, and if it is worthy of your young lady. A clear, gentle male voice spoke behind me, with a slightly teasing tone. I looked somewhat embarrassed and turned to stand up. I apologize. My maid is quite lively and has offended you. The man wore a green robe, his figure slender and upright. Upon seeing my face, a hint of admiration flashed across his expression. It's fine, I was just teasing earlier, please don't take offense. He raised his hand in a salute. Greetings, Miss Jiyuan. My aunt sent me to find you at the pavilion. My name is Xieheng, courtesy name Changqing. You may call me Changqing. I slightly bowed. Greetings, Master Changqing. 12. Xieheng had clear and bright eyes, spoke with humor, and expressed himself with remarkable eloquence. Sitting with him in the cool pavilion, we conversed joyfully, often laughing until the corners of my eyes crinkled. My gaze inadvertently drifted to the side, and I unexpectedly caught sight of Fu Lin not far away this time. He also attended the flower viewing banquet. He stood beneath the peach blossom tree, facing Muronglan, the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household. Young master, this is the talisman I obtained for you, to ward off evil and avoid disasters. The woman's eyes brimmed with affection, her face tinged with shyness. He took it, his expression still cold and stern. Thank you. He hung the amulet around his waist, and upon seeing it, Muronglan's cheeks flushed even deeper. This was his fiancée arranged by his father. He would give her the respect she deserved. Seeing this scene, the corners of my mouth stiffened slightly. In my previous life, I was his wife, and I knelt in the temple for 100 days to pray for an amulet of safety for him. I handed it to him with great joy, but he casually discarded it. As the future princess, how can you believe in such baseless talk of ghosts and gods? In the future, do not do such foolish things. It turns out it wasn't the thing that was wrong, but the person giving it. Miss Jiyuan, what's wrong? Seeing me in tears, Xieheng followed my gaze and suddenly seemed to understand something. After a long while, he comforted himself. What does it matter if my heart belongs to another? As long as he fights and strives, how can he not win the favor of a beauty? 13. He handed over a green handkerchief, his voice clear and warm. Miss Jiyuan, has the sand blinded your eyes? I touched my cold face and came to my senses. Yes, the wind was a bit strong just now. I took the handkerchief, grateful that he had helped me out of the situation. In the moment of hesitation, Fu Lin had already walked up to me without me noticing. In fact, he had already been paying attention to Qiao Zhirong's side. Today she wore a peach-pink ruchuan, her appearance charming and lovely, making the surrounding flowers seem to lose some of their color. I wonder what she and that man are laughing about. To be so happy, it's inexplicably irritating. Is this Sister Jiyuan truly beautiful? Muronglan was the first to break the awkward silence, speaking with grace and poise. Sorry about that. When Yun and I were a bit tired from standing outside, so we came here to rest for a while. Won't I be disturbing you and this young master? She blinked, her gaze wandering to the pine-embroidered handkerchief in my hand. Her eyes filled with ambiguity. Just as I was about to say something, the crowd suddenly panicked. There's an assassin. Dozens of highly skilled assassins surged towards Fu Lin, forcibly separating the four of us. Two masked assassins with exceptional agility took advantage of the chaos to kidnap Muronglan and me. We were like fish on a chopping block, each held at sword point. Standing on the icy rooftop in the biting wind, Fu Lin, "You coward, you've killed hundreds of our Dao Fu gang, all my wife and children are dead, today, one is your beloved sister Fu Shui, and the other is your fiancé Muronglan, choose one, and I want you to experience the pain of being torn between two choices and losing those you love dearly." 14. The blade pressed against my neck, drawing a deep gash that caused excruciating pain. The excruciating pain from slitting my wrist in my past life still makes me shudder when I think about it. Reborn, I value my life more than ever. Big brother. I'm not Fu Shui, holding me hostage won't work. The assassin's grip tightened further. No excuses. Just now, in the chaos, I clearly saw that Fu dog staring at you, afraid you'd get hurt. Even if not a blood-related sister, it must be someone of great concern. He turned his head and shouted at Fu Lin, "These two, choose one, or both will die." 3, 2, let go of Muronglan. Fu Lin's voice was hoarse indeed. Though I had long known the answer, I still managed a bitter smile in front of Fu Lin. I was always the one not chosen. The assassin chuckled coldly, whispering in my ear, "I never expected this Fu guy to be quite interesting. His eyes were clearly glued to you, yet he chose that one." From the high eaves, Muronglan was thrown down like a rag. "As you wished." Fu Lin leaped into the air, catching her waist mid-flight. 15 At the same time, taking advantage of Fu Lin's distraction, the blade pressed mercilessly against my neck, ready to end my life. In the nick of time, a pebble struck the assassin's eyelid, and Xieheng darted to my side like a gust of wind amidst the fluttering of his sleeves. There was a sharp clang as the assassin's weapon was knocked away. He shielded me with his body, one hand still in the posture of sheathing his sword. His hair was tousled by the cold wind, his gaze icy, yet it softened instantly when he looked down at me. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." I looked up at him, my voice tense. "You're hurt." His left arm was stained with blood, his head buried weakly in the crook of my shoulder, his breath faint. "It's nothing." My eyes were filled with worry, unaware of the cunning hidden beneath Xieheng's lowered eyelids. A single assassin wasn't enough to injure him. He just wanted Ji Yuan to care for him a little more. 16. Fu Lin, are you dead? At this moment, he and I were hiding in a secluded, narrow cave outside. Assassins hunting him were everywhere. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows on the walls, resembling demons crawling out of hell. Footsteps gradually faded away, echoing my frantic heartbeat. "Search over there." Seeing that the assassin hadn't noticed us, I suddenly let out a sigh of relief. Beside me, Fu Lin was severely injured, covered in blood, and completely unconscious. I kicked him irritably. Every time I saw this guy, something bad was bound to happen. Rewind 2 hours earlier, on the third day after my assassination attempt, the Duke's wife was deeply distressed and insisted on taking me to the Foying Temple to dispel bad luck. What I didn't expect was that Fu Lin was also there. The Duke's wife's carriage was spacious, but with Fu Lin's tall stature, the space suddenly felt cramped, especially when his cold aura spread. The undeniable sense of oppression made it hard to breathe freely. Ahem, the Duke's wife broke the delicate awkwardness in the air. "Why is Lina here this time?" Fu Lina's half-closed eyes slightly opened, looking serious. "There have been many bloody disasters recently, so we need to pray to Buddha to ward off evil spirits." She was momentarily stunned, her lips twitching stiffly. Her son himself was like the king of hell, never believing in ghosts or gods, and she wondered what scheme he was plotting this time. In the midst of our conversation, a loud shout suddenly came from outside the carriage. "There's an assassin!" I was momentarily speechless. Again an arrow pierced through the air and into the carriage, nearly piercing my head. "Be careful." Fu Lin grabbed me and ducked down. "These people are after me. Escort the princess and Miss Jiyuan away." 17. The scene was chaotic, with the smell of blood mingling with the sounds of swords clashing in the crowd. I was forced to separate from my wife. Seeing me alone, Fu Lin shielded me under his protection. In the escape and slaughter, many were killed or injured, and gradually, only the two of us remained. The assassins were mostly highly skilled martial artists. To protect me, Fu Lin suffered severe injuries and fell unconscious. "Ah," I sighed softly. Fu Lin, the son of the Duke of Zhengguo, is unparalleled in the world. His father was a founding hero, his mother the emperor's own sister. And he himself possessed great talent, earning the emperor's favor. Though it seemed glorious on the surface, the path behind the scenes was paved with bloodshed and struggle. Why couldn't I see it clearly in my previous life? I was foolish enough to dream of a stable life with him. Fu Lin, I will save you this time. Consider it repaying the wrongs you calculated against me in a past life, and from now on, we'll be even. I took out the golden wound medicine, sprinkling large amounts of the powder over his blooded wounds. TSK, what a troublemaker. I felt a pang of regret for my medicine, as it was made from precious ingredients, originally intended as a gift for Xie Heng. Fu Lin groaned in pain and woke up. Don't move, I pressed him down, my expression focused. The knife wound on your shoulder needs stitching. The bleeding has just stopped. If you move again, it will tear open. With the limited conditions, I pulled his hair to thread the needle and instructed, it's going to hurt a bit. Don't make a sound to avoid attracting assassins. He looked at me with a slightly dazed expression. You know medicine. I couldn't be bothered to engage with him and replied casually. I studied with a shaman for a while when I was in the frontier regions before the age of 10. The battlefield is so bloody. As the daughter of a general, I also follow behind to treat the wounded soldiers. 18 My fingertips hold a fine needle, carefully weaving it back and forth through his flesh under the moonlight. I didn't notice that Fu Lin was staring at me, his gaze gradually growing obscure. The cave was dim, and I instinctively leaned in a bit closer. The breath brushed against his shoulder, tickling like a feather and causing his Adam's apple to bob slightly. Though he was accustomed to enduring pain, Fu Lin's heartbeat was now more chaotic than the sharpest blade. He had thought Qiao Jiyuan was merely a delicate canary, but seeing her focused and composed expression now, his thoughts wavered, stirring an unusual emotion. After all, she had fallen for him first, and fulfilling her wishes might not be a bad thing. His rescuers arrived late in the afternoon of the second day, kneeling in rows. It turned out that the act of worshipping Buddha was merely a ruse to lure the enemy out. His injury was also part of the plan, aimed at feigning weakness to catch the traitor. What he didn't expect was the ferocity of this assassination attempt, which led to me being separated from the princess. He had to protect me, which restricted his movements and eventually led to his severe injury and unconsciousness. The assassination attempt was like a stone thrown into a lake, creating ripples at first but gradually returning to calm from then on. I did not meet with Fu Lin for half a month. 19 After the assassination attempt on the carriage, the Duke's wife forbade me from going out, but Xie Heng would always send me some novelties to amuse myself with, various snacks, storybooks, clever gadgets, each time accompanied by a personal letter from him. The content describes his ordinary life, his words restrained and polite, yet it's not hard to see the deep affection and concern within. I and Xie Heng have exchanged betrothal gifts and set the wedding date. Having died once, I no longer hold any expectations for marriage. I had only intended to treat him with respect and courtesy, but gradually, his gentleness and thoughtfulness began to move me, and I even began to look forward to our life together after marriage. Until one night, this peaceful and pleasant life was shattered. I stood at the courtyard gate, my expression impatient. Brother Allen, what brings you to me so late? Fu Lin's thin lips parted slightly. During these days I was away from the palace. I was handling the case of the assassin. Oh, I replied perfunctorily, I must go to Jiangnan for a covert investigation, and I'll be away for several months. I pursed my lips and responded lightly. What does that have to do with me? Fu Lin frowned slightly. Did she have nothing she wanted to say to him? Keep this. He placed a jade hairpin into my palm. Wait for my return. I'm not naive. I could sense some of his intentions. Staring into his passionate gaze, I felt the hairpin burning in my hand. I don't want it. He mistook my hesitation for maidenly shyness. Once it's given, keep it well. After speaking, he flicked his sleeve and turned to leave. I didn't want to get entangled with him any further. Anyway, I would just give this jade hairpin to Fu Shui later. 20 Knowing Fu Lin's intentions, I began to fear day and night. In my previous life, I was infatuated with him, but he treated me like a discarded rag. In this life, I tried to avoid him at every turn. Yet he developed feelings for me. I smiled, but a sense of sorrow rose from the depths of my heart. I begged the duke's wife to let me meet Xieheng, and she agreed, allowing me to return before sunset. Today, Xieheng wore a long gown of moonlight white, his jade crown high, exuding a gentle and refined aura. When looking at someone, his gaze is so gentle it almost seems to drip with tenderness. I was stared at until my face flushed red, and I lowered my head. "Why are you staring at me like that?" Xieheng scratched his head, his eyes sincere. "Because you look beautiful." He did not lie. Ji Yuan was indeed the most beautiful woman he had ever seen in his youth. He had once followed his master to the frontier. Behind the battlefield, the ground was littered with severed limbs, a horrifying sight. Even he could not bear to look directly at it, yet she could move freely among the severely wounded soldiers, her face youthful, her eyes carrying a calmness and certainty far beyond her years. Such a woman, pure as moonlight, took root in his heart like a tender shoot, lingering for years without fading. It wasn't until he saw her again that he realized his affection had already blossomed into a riot of spring colors, spreading wildly. After years apart, their reunion was a destined fate, and this time, he would not let go. 21 For this date, Xieheng had prepared meticulously. He first took me boating on the lake to admire the vibrant spring scenery in full bloom. Then he brought me to the world's premier dining pavilion, where every dish on the table was my absolute favorite. I was astonished by his thoughtfulness. All of this, the man who navigated the political arena with ease now seemed a bit nervous. "Is there anything that doesn't suit your taste?" I shook my head. "How did you know I love these foods?" I once asked my aunt, hoping you wouldn't find it offensive. He looked at me with a cautious gaze. In fact, it wasn't just about the food. He had meticulously noted down everything my aunt told him. After saying that, he took out another jade hairpin and handed it to my palm. "Since I saw you liked it, I bought it." Just now, while browsing the flower hairpin pavilion, I glanced at it a moment longer. Only because the price was expensive, I quietly put it down without a word. I never expected that he would have noticed. My nose tingled a bit, and I turned my face away, whispering softly, "You don't have to do this. This jade hairpin is truly valuable. Take it back and return it. It's not worth giving to me." What was precious was not just the jade hairpin, but also the young man's heartfelt intention. I have never been held in such high regard by anyone before. In my past life, I had long grown accustomed to cold mockery. Now, faced with such genuine sincerity, I find myself at a loss for how to respond. Seeing me cry, he became somewhat flustered. Once I had calmed down, he asked again, "Do you like it?" I struggled for a moment before nodding. He smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "As your fiancé, it's only natural for me to give you gifts. If this hairpin pleases you, then it's worth it." 22 As the sky gradually turned dusky, he escorted me back to the manor, his expression filled with reluctance. "People say I'm marrying you to climb the social ladder and secure a prosperous future. You may not believe it, but I want to say, marrying you was my true intention. My heart is devoted to you, and I will never take a concubine in this lifetime. May we grow old together, with love unwavering between us." The young man's affection was direct and scorching. As if I had been burned, I hurriedly averted my gaze. I said shyly, handing him a sachet embroidered with flowers. "For you." He stood still, then his expression brightened with joy. For me, the sachet was embroidered with my name, and his fingertips traced over it repeatedly, as if trying to etch those characters into his very being. "It contains medicinal herbs, to help calm the mind." He hung the sachet at his waist, showing it off like a child. "Does it look good?" My ears flushed red as I said, "It looks good. I have to go back." As I stepped over the threshold, he grabbed my wrist again. "Let me take one more look at you." He sounded a bit pitiful. I said again, "The princess has set the auspicious date for our wedding, leaving it for me to choose. One is 3 months from now, and the other is 2 years from now. I plan to choose the one 2 years from now." His gaze held a hint of regret, but then he thought otherwise. 3 months of wedding preparation is a bit tight. Such a major life event should be thoroughly planned. "Jiyuan, I'll wait for you." I shook off his hand and ran away, then turned back to give him a mischievous smile. "Just kidding. See you in 3 months." Fu Lin's words truly frightened me, and I desperately wanted to escape from the mansion and stay far away from him. In my previous life, I got married in a muddled way, and even with Fu Lin's threat in this life, I still don't want to rush into marriage, lest I fall into the same quagmire again. Meeting with Xieheng is also to further understand his character and morals. Knowing his gentle and proper demeanor, my initially restless and anxious emotions after our engagement were miraculously calmed, and I found inexplicable peace in the thought of marrying him early. 30 miles outside the city gate, Fu Lin arrived, covered in dust and travel weariness. Your Highness, the relay station is just ahead. We have been riding non-stop for 3 days. Should we stop to rest? During this trip to Jiangnan, they used the assassination attempt to uncover concrete evidence of Prince An's secret plan to raise troops and stage a rebellion, thereby resolving a major concern for the emperor. The emperor was overjoyed and intended to use this merit to obtain an imperial decree to marry Ji Yuan. However, after only 3 months, it felt like 3 years. And he was deeply missing the capital. What is she doing? Are you thinking of him? And secretly crying at the thought of this, he grew impatient. Hurry up and rush back to the capital. By the time he hurried home, it was already dusk, yet the mansion was anything but quiet. Red silk hung high at the gate, lanterns lit up the night like daylight, creating a lively scene of joyous celebration. Lina, you're back. The Duke's wife was also dressed in red today, radiant and charming. Today is the day your sister Jiyuan gets married. Hurry up and wash, so you can go to Xie's place to attend the wedding feast. Fu Lin's face was terrifyingly grim. Xiao Jiyuan, getting married? He was not unaware of Xieheng's engagement to Ji Yuan, he simply didn't care. An engagement is just a formality, finding an excuse to break it off would suffice. Ji Yuan's heart belonged to him, not that pale-faced scholar. As long as he achieves a great feat and secures the imperial decree for marriage, even with their vast difference in status, he can still make her his rightful wife. Why didn't she wait for him? His heart aches heavily, and even breathing seems painful. Resentment, panic, and helplessness intertwined as the corner of his lips curled slightly, carrying a cold sneer. Xiao Jiyuan, you were the one who provoked me first. How can you escape so easily? What does it matter if you're married? I'll just take you away. 24 On the wedding night, I sat on the carved wooden bed in my bright red wedding dress. He didn't wait for Xieheng but was forcibly knocked out by Fu Lin, who carried and took me out of the mansion. He hid me in a delicate courtyard, taking meticulous care of me, with everything from clothing to food and daily necessities being of the finest quality. I remained cold and distant, my gaze growing increasingly disgusted. He was hurt by my attitude, his eyes pleading and humble, as if his pride had been shattered. Ji Yuan, will you love me again? My hands were bound by chains, and a chill filled my eyes. Fu Lin, do you even know what love is? Someone like you, born to see all things as insignificant, have you ever truly respected me? Fu Lin's eyes were bloodshot. I didn't want to, but if I don't keep you here, you'll run away. You were the one who loved me first, so why don't you love me anymore? I had no desire to argue with him, responding with silence. Why don't you love me anymore? Because the price was too painful. So painful that it was unforgettable. 25 In the 3rd month of my captivity, he still refused to let me go. He didn't touch me, but every night he would sleep beside me. Even when I plunged the hairpin into his chest, blood flowing, he still wouldn't leave. One night, he was drunk, his expression obsessive. As he looked at me, Ji Yuan, why don't you like me anymore? He was the son of a noble family, responsible for upholding the family's honor. He had to remain sober and rational at all times, making the most advantageous decisions, yet he would lose control and go mad whenever he saw my cold gaze. I toy with people's hearts, but I never expected to lose to you. Is it only when I lay bare my heart that you'll believe I'm not lying? He pulled out a dagger, took my hand, and pointed the blade at his own heart. Stab here. The sharp dagger instantly pierced flesh, and blood gushed out in large amounts. Terrified by his madness, tears uncontrollably streamed down my face. Fu Lin, have you gone mad? He saw my emotional turmoil and laughed maniacally with satisfaction. Ji Yuan, you still care about me after all. After saying this, he lost too much blood and fell into a coma. I hurriedly stopped his bleeding. I hated him for imprisoning me, yet I couldn't just stand by and watch him die. 26. Fu Lin fell into a dream. In the dream, Ji Yuan, clad in a sheer veil, was straddling him, her eyes smoldered with allure, her fingers beckoning seductively, his gaze darkened, his breathing heavy, shadows intertwined within the veil, filling the room with sensuality awakening. He loathed her schemes and berated her for her shamelessness. In truth, he knew she was a threat. He had always prided himself on being calm and never making a single mistake, yet he was the only exception in front of her. The royal household needed a crown prince without any weaknesses, and an almost instinctive vigilance made him push away her goodwill countless times. He watched as the starlight in her eyes gradually faded amidst the endless waiting in the courtyard, and the once innocent and charming woman now wore a forced, stiff smile. Until the day the news of her suicide came from the mansion, he had been indifferent. He had seen too much death and had long grown numb. But the crabapple flowers in the mansion no longer bloomed. When he returned home, there was no longer a lamp waiting for him late into the night, the swing in the courtyard had rusted, and the cuffs of his sleeves no longer bore the delicate iris patterns. The once vibrant and lively mansion had returned to a state of lifelessness. He would never see that girl again. Her emotions as vibrant as a butterfly among flowers. The dull pain, realized too late, consumed his entire heart, making his breath catch for a moment. For 3 years after her death, he buried himself in work day and night, trying to numb the pain tearing at his heart. Eventually, worn out from overwork, he followed her in death. Before he died, he said, "I'm sorry, it was my indifference, coldness, and selfishness that harmed you." 27. The dagger missed by half an inch, and he would have died. Fortunately, I stopped the bleeding in time, and the imperial physician worked for 3 days and 3 nights to pull him back from the brink of death. Fu Lin woke up, and I instinctively took a few cautious steps back, seeing me affectionately holding Xieheng's arm, his eyes filled with hurt, yet he still managed a faint smile. In his past life, he had hurt her too deeply and no longer had the right to stand by her side. Newlyweds, may your union be as harmonious as fish in water, sweeter than honey. On the night of our wedding, he secretly abducted me. Xieheng, for the sake of my reputation, did not make a public outcry but quietly searched for my whereabouts. Everyone outside believed I was ill and confined to the courtyard. When Fu Lin was injured, I went to seek help from Xieheng. When I saw him again, he had grown a stubble, looking haggard and worn out. I threw myself into his arms. "I missed you so much." He kissed my hair tenderly, as if holding a precious treasure. "I thought I would never see you again." 28. After 20 years of marriage, I and Xieheng were still as loving as ever, and we had a lovely pair of twins. The young assistant minister of the Grand Court of Judicial Review, who is unyielding and impartial in public, turns into a pure and clingy big dog every time he returns home from official duties, spending the entire night snuggling up to me and acting spoiled. Ji Yuan, yes, Ji Yuan, He called me over and over, and I responded to him without hesitation. "Is this really not a dream? Did you really marry me?" Soft fragrance in my arms, like a dream. In the 3rd month after she was taken, he dreamed that she had married Fu Lin, but the days dragged on unhappily, and she eventually died in sorrow. Upon waking, his heart ached with tears, and he began searching for her day and night in secret. Fortunately, heaven took pity, and he finally succeeded in bringing the beauty home. Ji Yuan, that fellow Fu Lin is already 40 and still unmarried. Could it be that he still harbors improper thoughts about you? I kissed his jealous lips. Why bother with him? He was satisfied, curling the corners of his lips like a little wife. "Say, you love me the most." "I love my husband the most, the very most." He bent over, pressing me down. "The night is still long, and your husband wants to love you well too." I never understood. The child is already 10 years old, yet Xieheng hasn't passed that age of insatiable desire. "Gentle," I kicked him, my voice coquettish. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Kui Shu and I are the model couple envied by everyone in the capital, but I never expected that on his deathbed, he would say, "Xiangyi, I have given my life to you, and I have no regrets." If I had accepted the emperor's arranged marriage back then, Would Shuang Shuang have lived a little longer, if there is a next life? Shuang Shuang was the maiden name of the late princess. Only then did I realize that behind the study, which I was not allowed to enter, there was a painting of a woman who was none other than Rong Shuang Shuang. Written on the painting were the words, "In this life, I have no regrets toward my mother, my wife, or my sovereign, only toward you. I only wish that in the next life, I can repay you with a lifetime of deep affection." In this new life, Kui Shu acknowledged me as his sister, saying, "From now on, we shall address each other as siblings. I will protect you for the rest of your life." Okay, Kui Shu, then I wish you achieve all you desire in this lifetime. Located in a medical clinic in the western part of the capital, the backyard is planted with peach trees whose blossoms flutter and scatter, falling into the soil with the wind to become dust and mud. "Miss, you've passed." "What do you mean, passed?" Xiao Dao came running back joyfully from outside and quickly pulled me out the door to see. "Young master has passed, and as the top scholar, you can rest assured now." Top scholar. I blinked my eyes, still a bit stunned. The scene before me was hard to believe. It wasn't a lifeless room, it was a bustling medical clinic, filled with the scent of medicinal herbs drifting everywhere. I haven't been to this place for several decades. I looked at my own hand, and it wasn't withered and aged, it was fair and smooth, with a rosy hue on the palm and fingertips, looking full of vitality. My hand trembled, feeling the smooth and tender skin from the left side of my face down to my chin and neck. "Miss, what's wrong?" Xiao Dao's round, delicate face was full of concern, but she had clearly died 10 years after I married Kui Shu. He died with a haggard face. My fingers curled slightly. "This is rebirth. The young master is surely on his way back now. I bet he'll propose to you the very day he passes the imperial examination." Both the master and the mistress are waiting at home. They must have already heard the good news. "Young master is truly remarkable, achieving the top rank in the imperial examinations, and you have such good judgment. Now all the women in the capital envy you." The moment the golden list is announced, the night of the wedding chamber, that was indeed the case in my previous life. My mind was in a daze, still reeling from the shock of being reborn, when Xiao Dao pulled me to the street corner. Kui Shu, dressed in red, sat on horseback wearing a black gauze cap. Having been conferred an official position, the streets were lined with commoners watching, their customs simple and open, with some women even throwing flowers and handkerchiefs. It truly was a scene of the spring breeze fills with pride, the horses' hooves speed along, and in one day, all the flowers of Chang'an are seen, a moment of triumphant splendor. Kui Shu accepted none of it. With the demeanor of a scholar, his appearance was exceptionally aloof, yet his character was as gentle as jade. He had always remained chaste and kept his distance from women even after we married in my previous life. I was the only one in the residence, with no other concubines though. There were women who admired him. He never considered taking a concubine. He was chaste, upright, honest, and kept his promises. Thus, a woman of such ordinary background as myself served as the wife of the current prime minister for many years, and there was never any discord in the household. Kui Shu smiled apologetically to the girl who had thrown the handkerchief. "I already have someone I like. Marriage arrangements are decided by my parents. I dare not make such decisions on my own." The crowd laughed and cheered, wondering whose family had such good judgment. The top scholar of the imperial examination had not forgotten his roots and remained true to his word. Xiao Dao's voice rang out clearly. "It's my young lady, miss. The young master truly cares for you. From now on, as long as you are happy, Xiao Dao will be happy too." She didn't notice that Kui Shu, not far away, had a slightly stiff expression, his fair jade-like face showing a trace of embarrassment. I smiled faintly at Xiao Dao, whose eyes were filled with joy for my sudden clarity in my previous life. It was the same. She followed me into the Kui family, unwilling to marry, helping me manage the household, exhausting herself every day for the sake of the Kui clan's relatives. She was only in her 20s, yet she had already become terribly haggard. I blinked my eyes, looking at Xiao Dao in her prime, and tucked the stray strands of hair at her temples behind her ears. "Xiao Dao, let's go back and wait first. It's quite crowded out here." Xiao Dao obediently let me hold her hand, but before we could leave, We were jostled by the crowd. It turned out that the top scholar had dismounted from his horse and was walking in this direction. So everyone made way for him. Someone muttered, "She's not that pretty either. Whose young lady is this, dressed so plainly?" Shu stepped forward, his ink-dark eyes fixed on me, making my heart flutter slightly. The last time we met, we were both already old and frail. It felt like it had just happened, yet it seemed like a lifetime ago. "Xiao Dao, young Master Kui, are you here to propose marriage?" Her voice was lively and straightforward, and I hadn't had a chance to stop her. Shu looked troubled. "Miss Wen, I don't believe we ever explicitly discussed marriage. I am very grateful for the care you and your parents have given me over the years. Here is 1,000 taels of gold, bestowed by His Majesty. This sum is more than enough to ensure that you and your parents live comfortably. I have never forgotten the kindness of the Wen family, who kept me fed and warm." From now on, my expression slightly stiffened, my hand holding Xiao Dao paused, and some people in the surrounding crowd let out a few mocking laughs. "So it's about leveraging a favor to demand repayment, offering oneself for intimacy, and being delusional enough to speak as if you were his wife." Xiao Dao had a fiery and straightforward temper. Hearing this, she understood that Shu was deliberately humiliating me and trying to find excuses to break off the engagement. "Damn you, Shu, you're ungrateful and unworthy of being the top scholar. Shu and I have known each other since we were very young. We both grew up in Jiangling, and he lived with his mother, relying on each other. Shu's father was one of the few scholars in the village, but he died early. The mother and son struggled to survive, so they left a village under Jiangling County. My family's situation in Jiangling is fairly decent. We have a medical clinic left by my grandfather. My father isn't skilled in medicine, but I enjoy it. Later, I persuaded my father that we could open a restaurant, which would also bring in considerable income. At first, Shu worked as an assistant in our family's clinic, running around and helping out. However, my father took a liking to Shu because he was literate and good with numbers, so he took him on as an apprentice under his own guidance. His family was poor, but his background was considered clean. My father and mother felt sorry for his family's difficulties and often took care of him in many ways. Kui's mother was also taken into our residence by my parents, so she could help him a little. I wonder if you remember the essay Farewell to Marr Sheng of Dongyang. Shu was just like that. He had no money, but he loved reading and understood that it brought clarity and reason. During the day, he worked in a shop, and at night, he copied books for others. At night, the small figure would light a flickering lamp, a sight that truly evoked pity. Seeing his diligence, intelligence, and exceptional talent for writing, I pleaded with my father to let him attend school with me. I was older than him, and in daily life, I took on the role of an older sister, always looking out for him. He was slender in build and dressed plainly, yet he was often praised by the teacher. He was not good with words and did not mingle with others at the same time. This made him disliked by others in the school. One day, I saw him covered in filth, his school uniform stamped with several footprints, the cuffs of his sleeves torn and misshapen, even tattered. The money for this school uniform was even something I had paid for him in advance. He blushed with shame over this, copying books day and night, helping people hawk goods on the streets, and only managed to repay the money in full after receiving his wages at the end of the month. I was suddenly overcome with anger, my fury soaring to the heavens. I had always been gentle and easygoing, so no one in the school had ever seen me charge in with a stick and beat up those who bullied others. I shielded Shu behind me and said, "Shu, from now on, if anyone gives you a hard time or bullies you, I'll stand up for you. A mouth is for more than just eating and talking, it can also be used to tattle." Shu's eyes were brimming with tears as he held my hand and said, "Sister Xiangyi, I will become very capable in the future and give you a better life." I nodded and said I believed him. "I trust you, Shu." Spring passed and autumn came. The peaches ripened and bloomed again. True to his word, Shu excelled, achieving the top honors in all 3 levels of the imperial examinations. His mother also liked me, and when he achieved the top score in the imperial examination, he proposed to me on the day of our wedding. Even the currently most favored Princess Qingshuang attended. I later found out that after he entered the Hanlin Academy, Her Highness the Princess was very fond of him. The usually arrogant Rong Shuangshuang shed her sharp claws in front of him and learned to become gentle. Princess Qingshuang visited the Hanlin Academy every day, always bringing something with her. Sometimes it was pastries she had made herself, other times it was pouches she had personally sewn. I knew nothing about any of this later. She even begged the emperor to grant them a marriage. Kui Shu openly refused in the grand hall, saying, "I already have a wife at home, who is my benefactor. The princess is of noble birth and esteemed status. While I am of humble origins and fear I am not worthy of such a match." I was very pleased to hear this, and everyone in the capital praised him at that time. I still did not know that Kui Shu's heart had wavered. Speaking of my past life, I think when he refused the imperial marriage with the princess, he never imagined that his path to success would be so difficult. Kui Shu entered the officialdom and needed to manage relationships, but I had never learned it since childhood. I had studied medicine and had only a superficial understanding of official matters, so I closed the medical clinic and instead opened a shop, selling everything from rouge and powder to silks and satins. Although we had enough money, we had no connections at all in the official circles. It was inevitable to face cold shoulders. Kui Shu was not good with words and often felt frustrated. I would comfort him, and whenever I had time, I would attend banquets hosted by noble ladies and wives, or visit others, just to increase the Kui family's visibility. Later, the Kui family became increasingly wealthy, and Kui Shu's career path grew smoother and smoother, yet he sighed many times, wondering why his official career was so difficult. Once, when he was drunk in his study, I brought him some sobering soup and saw the words on his desk, "Sorrow wells up from within, regrets are many." That was when Rong Shuangshuang promoted a minor official with just a single word. Later, Rong Shuangshuang passed away, said to have died of sorrow. The emperor, deeply grieved, buried her with the honors befitting an empress. During the national mourning, Kui Shu went to the Cold Mountain Temple outside the capital and did not return for several nights. The Cold Mountain Temple is famous for its efficacy, with 99 steps in front of the temple that require kneeling at every step and kowtowing at every 2 steps. After arriving at the temple, the matters I prayed for were finally heard by the heavens. I didn't take this matter to heart. One could say I didn't have the time to take it to heart at that time. I was managing household affairs, and the handover of the shops was quite complicated. Since Kui Shu became the prime minister, I couldn't frequently appear in public or come and go from the residence, so I busied myself with socializing with the nobility in the capital, thinking of letting Kui Shu have no worries in his official career. He did not disappoint me either. In the mansion's inner court, I was the only one, and at banquets, we were the loving couple in the eyes of outsiders. We were as happy as if there were no flaws. But before he left, he said, "Xiangyi, I have given my life to you, and I do not regret it. If I had accepted the emperor's arranged marriage back then, would Shuangshuang have lived longer? If there is a next life, what about the next life?" He lay on the bed, his voice faint, and I didn't hear clearly. But while I was sorting through his belongings, I actually discovered, behind the study that he never allowed me to enter, there was a painting, and the woman in the painting was none other than Rong Shuangshuang. On the painting, it was written, "In this life, I have no regrets toward my mother, my wife, or my sovereign, but I have wronged you alone. I only wish that in the next life, I can return your deep affection for a lifetime." Kui Shu, you refused the emperor's arranged marriage, and didn't end up with the princess. Do you regret it now? Looking back now, all the past events were actually Kui Shu's regrets. When the princess promoted a minor official, he felt jealous, which is why he got drunk. The princess has passed away, and he went to Hansan Temple, likely to pray for a continuation of their bond in the next life. In my previous life, I had no regrets, and I thought you felt the same. It turns out it was just me imposing my kindness as a debt, and just Kui's mother forcing the issue out of gratitude and filial duty. Kui Shu married me. I was stunned for a moment, Kui Shu's face clearly imprinted before my eyes. Only then did I realize that Kui Shu had also been reborn. He didn't want to live the same life as before, he wanted to live a different one. The Kui family. "You bastard, say that again. You say you won't marry Xiangyi." Mother Kui's tone was severe. "Do you think Xiangyi has waited for you all these years for what? it's only because you wanted to establish your career before settling down. At that time, you kept saying that once you succeeded, you would give Xiangyi a good life and protect her for a lifetime. Now you're saying you won't marry her. What is she supposed to do? Mother Kui sat down, closed her eyes for a moment, and though her voice remained as gentle as ever, it carried a tone of confusion and reproach. You've been clinging to her since you were little. Did you think I didn't know? But I'm your mother, I know my own son better than anyone. I know you've never been one to talk much since you were a child, but you've always excelled in your studies. Back when your father was still with us, he said you would achieve great things in the future, so I never dared to neglect your education. I was afraid I might hinder your future, so I brought you here, away from the village. You're delighted whenever you see Xiangyi, bustling around her as an assistant in the clinic, following her every step, taking her words as your command, always putting her first. Do you remember when she was so frightened by a yellow dog that she couldn't sleep for nights on end? You were panicked, even more worried than her own parents. Kui's mother found the memory amusing. You climbed up to her window in the middle of the night just to keep her company and talk to her. Kui's mother saw it clearly, but she never said a word. Now that Kui Shu has achieved the top rank in the imperial examinations, he is about to break his promise. How can she possibly face the Wen family? Kui's mother, Aishu, one must not be ungrateful. Kui Shu frowned. He remembered everything from the past, but he didn't consider it love at most. It was just a deep bond between children. It doesn't amount to much. Mother. Matters of marriage cannot be forced. He believed his mother simply didn't understand. Even if he were to be with Wen Xiangyi in the future, it would only be like relatives coexisting. He recalled his past life, where he and Wen Xiangyi had indeed treated each other with respect for a lifetime, but that kind of life was too difficult to endure, too mediocre and ordinary. After a night had passed, Lady Kui asked him once more, Kui Shu, I ask you, have you truly decided not to marry Xiangyi? No woman outside could ever compare to her. Kui Shu, I have truly made up my mind. Very well, there will be no room for regret from now on. Kui Shu, mother, I will not regret the decisions I have made, just as in his previous life when he married Wen Xiangyi. Despite many regrets, he had no remorse. Kui Shu ignored the strange feeling in his heart. In this life, he was only waiting for the emperor to bestow the marriage. It is my fault for letting Xiangyi down. Uncle and aunt, here is 1,000 taels of gold. I will continue to protect Xiangyi, treating her as an elder sister. I can even escort her to her wedding. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? You betrayed my sister and think you can just move on. I heard the commotion from the front hall and quickened my pace. My brother Wen Siyuan has always practiced martial arts. He has a hot temper and shows no mercy when he fights. When he heard about what happened to me last night, he almost rushed to the Kui family to beat Kui Shu. Assaulting an imperial official is a serious crime. Although Wen Siyuan was younger than Kui Shu, his strength was not to be underestimated. With one punch, he struck Kui Shu in the face. Being punched and kicked, Kui Shu also grew somewhat enraged. No one could hold them back. Present at the scene were Kui Shu's mother, my mother and father, and Xiao Dao, yet not a single one of them could stop the fight. You scholars are truly skilled at confusing right and wrong, talking about childish feelings and pretending to be ignorant. I think you understand all too well. You've delayed my sister, and now you grandly claim that money can solve everything. Dream on, my mother. Kui Shu, you say you and Xiangyi never explicitly discussed marriage, but were all your past affections fake? My father, back then, I only let you stay close to Xiangyi because you seemed honest. Who would have thought you'd turn out to be a cunning, slippery character who abandons his devoted wife? Bullshit. Kui Shu, I am not an ungrateful person. I will always regard the Wen family as my own. I know how much I owe the Wen family, and from now on, Wen Xiangyi will be my sister. Alright, I agree, Kui Shu, since this is what you want, I will grant your wish. If you want to change your life, then I will also change the way I live. I walked in without glancing at him, pulling my parents over to sit down. Father, mother, there's no need to be angry. I've already thought this through yesterday. Siyuan, you've already vented your anger by hitting him. From now on, you must not act impulsively or recklessly. Kui Shu is now an official of the court. Do you still want to go to the battlefield and fight the enemy? Seeing that I appeared calm, my parents grew even more worried. Xiangyi, Kui Shu's expression faltered slightly, a fresh wound at the corner of his lips looking somewhat comical. Except for the very early days when he used to be bullied, he hadn't been this disheveled in decades of his official career. It's really bizarre. I actually saw a hint of grievance in Kui Shu's eyes as he looked at me. Kui Shu, since both our families are present and we're not strangers, I'll accept these 1,000 taels of gold, whether you see me as an elder sister or a benefactor. Is up to you. However, I won't treat you like a brother. I already have a brother, and I don't need you to carry me when I get married. Siyuan is very strong. I hinted at something, looking at the wound on the corner of his mouth, when Siyuan lifted his chin, proud and pleased. This matter isn't complicated either. It was just a childhood joke and shouldn't be taken seriously. Consider the 1,000 taels of gold as repayment for your kindness. You may go back now. Kui Shu's expression faltered slightly, momentarily unable to understand why I had agreed so easily. Seeing that they had not yet left, I smiled and said, Lord Kui, you wouldn't be reluctant to part with the gold, would you? He paused for a moment, then forced out 2 words through gritted teeth, I wouldn't. I had once asked him why he never called me sister. At that time, Kui Shu had already grown into a young man, his hair tied with a blue ribbon. Though it was an age of youthful exuberance, he seldom smiled. Only when he saw me did his expression become more animated, so I teased him, Aishu, do you dislike me? Kui Shu's pupils trembled slightly, revealing a look of helplessness. The tips of his ears turned bright red as he stammered, No, I could never dislike you, Xiangyi, alright, I was just teasing you. Suddenly, he became serious. Miss Wen, I, Kui Shu, am fond of you. In the future, when I achieve fame and success, I will surely come to marry you. At that moment, peach blossoms fell in a flurry, the pink petals blurring my vision. I smiled and replied, yes, so I waited for him to achieve fame and success, until I turned 20. Now he says he didn't understand feelings back then, that he should have treated me like a sister, but he confused familial love with romantic love. It turns out he only ever saw me as a sister. Kui's mother still wanted to say something, but I walked over and said, Aunt, a child to their parents is like a person's legs and arms. An arm cannot twist a thigh. You are the same. You cannot make Kui Shu change his mind. Since that's the case, why make things ugly? After they left, my parents asked me if I had truly let go. I nodded and said, Mom, Dad, I know you're worried about my marriage, but now we have a lot of money. Even if we don't work, we can live well in the future. And besides, who knows, there might be a good marriage in store. Besides, are you so eager to marry me off? Do you find me a burden, my mother? What are you talking about? Your father and I are overjoyed to have you at home. We may not have many other skills, but we can certainly take care of you. My father, that's right, don't overthink it. From now on, just focus on treating patients at the clinic, studying medicine, and doing what you love. It's best for us to cut ties with the Kui family. When Siyuan thought for a moment and said, I curse him to die early, I smiled faintly, patted his head lightly, and suddenly thought of something. I told Xiaodao to return the items in the room to Kui Shu. What I didn't know was, Kui Shu hadn't gone far when his heart trembled slightly. It wasn't until he stepped through the Wen family's gate that he truly felt it was real. Yet there was a sharp, wrenching pain in his chest, and his mind grew hazy for a few moments. How could it be so easy when Xiangyi hadn't clung to him, hadn't cried, and hadn't made a scene? The Wen family, just like her, simply took the money and considered the matter settled. Hearing Xiaodao's voice, his eyes finally focused. He had thought when Xiangyi liked him so much, that she valued emotions so deeply, it couldn't be possible that, Lord Kui, I'm returning this hairpin to you. Xiaodao glared at him angrily, paid her respects to Lady Kui, and then forcefully threw the wooden hairpin at Kui Shu. The young lady said, since it's broken, things that shouldn't be kept should be returned. Kui Shu frowned deeply, the hairpin fell from his body, and he didn't catch it. The wooden hairpin broke directly on the ground, splitting into 2 pieces. The crisp sound of the wooden hairpin hitting the ground reached Kui Shu's ears. He crouched down to pick up the 2 broken pieces of the hairpin. She even returned this. Her voice was soft, as if speaking to Xiao Dao, but more as if speaking to herself. This wooden hairpin was carved for me by Kui Shu, given to me as a coming-of-age gift. I wore it my entire previous life. When I wasn't wearing it, I kept it carefully stored in a box, tying our hair together as husband and wife. We love each other without doubt. Now that I have returned the hairpin to him, this matter can finally be considered settled. Kui Shu seemed lost in thought, his hand tightening around the wooden hairpin. Kui's mother glanced at him, sighed, and then walked away. Miss, something's happened. Xiao Dao hurried over. There's trouble at the clinic. It's that Mr. He from before, he Xiangnan. Yes, he's causing a scene at the clinic entrance, saying you're now an unwanted old maid and that your medical skills are useless. Now there's a crowd gathered at the clinic door, trying to ruin your reputation. I just remembered this person. He Xiangnan was originally one of my patients. After he recovered, he tried to show interest in me, but I told him I was already engaged, and he looked down on me because of it. Isn't he just that poor scholar? What kind of life can he give you? A poor scholar dragging you into a life of poverty. When Xiangyi, if you come with me, what delicacies won't you get to enjoy? Why would you still need to work at the clinic? Later, when I completely ignored him and Siyuan stayed by my side every day, he eventually gave up. Why has he now reverted to his old ways, and even intensified them? There was no such thing in my previous life. Perhaps my rebirth has stirred up changes. I sat in front of the mirror, touched the left side of my cheek, and felt a suspicion in my heart. By the time I arrived, the situation had only worsened. With many people gathered at the entrance, my 10-year-old son came here for treatment, and as soon as he got home, he started vomiting uncontrollably. It was completely useless, and now he's still lying in bed. I think it's just a quack doctor. A woman was holding a child, a boy lying on a straw mat, his face pale and weak, almost on the verge of death. The woman threw herself to the ground, crying and shouting. Onlookers took one look and began cursing. What kind of clinic is this? What kind of doctor is this? The clinic assistant hurried forward to check on the situation, but was pushed away. Get out of the way. Who knows what you're really up to? How much worse do you want this child to get? I saw He Xiangnan standing at the door, loudly accusing. Smash it all. How can you trust medicine from people like this? How can you believe in doctors like this? I had a stomachache before and took several doses of medicine prescribed here, but it didn't get better. Then I went to see another doctor. And it turned out that this place was doing it on purpose, prescribing more medicine just to charge you more money. Someone exclaimed loudly in surprise. Isn't this the Miss Wen who claimed to be engaged to the top scholar? So she's actually a fraud, swindling money from us common folks. Someone who had never been here for treatment before said, what is a young lady like her doing out in public like this? It's just disgraceful. She calls herself the top scholar's wife, but she should take a look at who she really is. And now she's even caused someone's death. Really? But the medicine from Fengchun Clinic is actually very good and affordable. Dr. When there is so kind, she even treated me for free when I was poor, and the medicine worked like a charm. That was a lie. You might not be sick at all. Those who spoke in defense of Fengchun Clinic tried to argue back but were shouted down. Everyone, I am a physician at Fengchun Clinic. I have been practicing medicine here for quite some time. You can verify how many patients have recovered under my care. Today's commotion has made it clear that you want to know the truth. The authorities will ultimately decide the matter, but right now, this child's life is what matters most. Fortunately, not everyone was swayed by rumors, and the crowd quieted down. I said, let me take a look first. If something happens to the child, no one can bear the responsibility. The woman suddenly stood up. It's all your fault. You took my son's life. I'll kill you. He Xiangnan, Xiangyi, look at you now. You've been abandoned by that guy surnamed Kui. He has no conscience. You might as well come with me. Now, that guy surnamed Kui won't protect you either. He moved closer to me, one hand gripping my wrist tightly. I frowned, unable to break free. What are you doing, young master? Kui Shu's voice came through as he pulled He Xiangnan away and asked if I was alright. I breathed a temporary sigh of relief, but just as I was about to turn to check on the child, guards stepped in to separate the crowd. Well, what a lively scene. It was the second son of the Duke of Zhengguo, Xiao Luoheng, I had previously treated the Duke of Zhengguo's elderly mother, and the old lady was so grateful that she even mentioned the idea of adopting me as her granddaughter. Step aside, can't you see our doctor when is about to treat a patient? Xiao Luoheng was a notorious playboy in the capital, always flamboyant and unrestrained. Do you all know that physician when once treated my grandmother, her medical skills are nothing short of miraculous, bringing the dying back to life. Anyone who looks down on her is questioning my grandmother's judgment. Xiao Luoheng, dressed in luxurious clothes, had his guards maintain order. He pulled someone forward and said, "This is Physician Yang, the very one renowned throughout the land. If you doubt Physician Wen's medical skills, let Physician Yang verify them. Also, I've already reported this to the authorities. No one who caused trouble today will get away." I was taken aback, never expecting the Xiao family to send someone, and so promptly and thoroughly at that. "Thank you, second young master." Xiao Luoheng blinked at me. "It was my elder brother's idea, Xiao Jinyu." I nodded somewhat hesitantly. After checking the condition, I frowned slightly. "Has he eaten?" The woman's eyes darted nervously, and she stammered, "Yes, he has. He's been sick these past few days, so I've been giving him good food, Sheng'er, and I have been eating whatever he leaves behind." I glanced at her for a moment, and she grew uneasy. After whispering a few words to Xiaodao, I said, "The child is fine, it's just a reaction to the medicine. We'll keep the child here for observation for a few days." Xiaodao immediately subdued the woman. The woman struggled and tried to curse me, but Xiaodao slapped her across the face. "Shut up. If you insult the young lady again, I'll beat you to death. You thief. Did you steal someone else's child? Speak up. Where did this child come from? You're involved in child abduction, kidnapping, and trafficking. I'm handing you over to the authorities right now." The woman was completely subdued by Xiaodao, trembling as she said, I'll talk. Xiao Luoheng, watching from the side, felt his heart race at the sight of Xiaodao's seamless series of movements. I looked at He Xiangnan, who was being restrained by the guards, and said, "Mr. He, I don't care who your accomplice is. You brought people to wreck my shop and tarnish my reputation. I won't let this matter rest." He Xiangnan didn't have the nerve to cause such a public disturbance in the capital. It's even widely known that Kui Shu is on good terms with my family. Since Kui Shu hasn't taken sides yet, no one would want to create a rift with the new top scholar. However, now I intend to send all these people to the authorities. Kui Shu, standing nearby, held me back and said, "Xiangyi, as you can see, your reputation is indeed my fault, and I will take responsibility." I calmly replied, "May I ask how you plan to take responsibility, Lord Kui?" "After I marry my official wife, I will bring you into the household. After he marries the princess, he'll bring me in as a concubine." My heart sank. "Kui Shu, how could you say such despicable words? I really misjudged you before." My expression turned cold. "Kui Shu, don't come here anymore. Our Wen family is too humble to host someone of your stature, especially those around you. Kui Shu, Xiongyi, you're already 20, who would want to marry you now? Who says no one would? I'm willing." Xiao Luoheng suddenly popped up beside us, perked up his ears after listening, and loudly retorted before squeezing himself between Kui Shu and me. He said with a grin, "My brother isn't married yet, and he's definitely willing." Kui Shu frowned. "Second young master Xiao, it's better not to say such things. Everyone knows that Grand Tutor Xiao has no interest in marriage." Xiao Luoheng looked at him. "What business is it of yours? Get up already." He pushed Kui Shu aside and then had the guards take him away. "Didn't you hear that Dr. Wen doesn't like you? Why are you still here being an eyesore, Miss Xiangyi?" I could tell at a glance that this Kui Shu is no good. He's not as handsome as my elder brother, and his character is even worse. He's simply not worthy of you. I found it amusing and asked, "Then, may I ask, young Master Xiao, who is worthy of me?" "Of course, it's my elder brother," he blurted out. "Don't you think my brother is quite decent? He's definitely capable, even though there are rumors in the capital saying otherwise. But those are all just gossip. My brother is an older bachelor, not bad-looking, holds a decent official position, has good abilities, and comes from a respectable family. What do you think?" I rubbed my forehead. Does Xiao Jinyu know that his younger brother is going around promoting his marriage prospects? How did the Grand Tutor know about my affairs and send someone over? Wasn't he recently away from the capital? Xiao Luoheng, well, it's just a coincidence. I was playing around here and overheard them talking. So, here, take this. If you run into any trouble, just show it. I have things to attend to, so I'll be going now. He put the things down and left. I took a look and saw it was an imperial jade pendant, engraved with the character U. An imperial gift, given to me for protection. I glanced up at the roof. There should be someone up there. Was it sent by the Duke's estate, or by Xiao Jinyu? Protection, or surveillance? To be honest, surveillance is unlikely. If it's protection, then my feeling in my previous life was correct. Xiao Jinyu has feelings for me, but how could that be? We've always had little interaction, except for those days when I stayed briefly at the Duke's residence to treat the Dowager. Xiao Jinyu is a rigorous person. He showed early promise in his youth and was known as a prodigy. Later, at 16, he achieved the top score in the imperial examinations, entered the Grand Secretariat, and was appointed as the Chief Minister of the Court of Judicial Review. Now at 26, he serves as the Grand Tutor to the Crown Prince and remains unmarried. In my previous life, when I got married, he did indeed send an extra generous gift. Houses, shops, and land were all included. At the time, I thought the Duke's mansion was truly wealthy. Our next interaction came when I sold my clinic to him, and he took over its management. At my first child's first birthday celebration, he sent a gift and then left for the border, never returning to the capital and remaining unmarried for the rest of his life. I wouldn't be so presumptuous as to think he did it for me. However, every year when the Kui family holds a banquet, the Duke's residence sends a generous gift. In my previous life, the Duke's residence paved many steps on Kui Shu's path to success. Since accepting that jade pendant, I have been receiving gifts from Xiao Jinyu constantly. They're all just ordinary little trinkets, nothing more, either snacks or jewelry. Before I could confirm his feelings, Princess Qingshuang sent me an invitation. The princess's birthday is in a few days. Nowadays, it's actually not like the previous life. His Majesty does not intend to bestow the princess in marriage to Kui Shu. I later found out that although Xiao Jinyu was far away suppressing bandits elsewhere, he had actually reported Kui Shu in his memorial to the throne. He is untrustworthy, and his character still needs to be examined. He is cowardly, and it is uncertain whether he is reliable. A princess's banquet should not be attended by someone as unknown as me, but constantly avoiding it is not a solution either. Besides, I cannot refuse the princess's invitation. Moreover, I gripped the jade pendant in my hand. In my past life, she scarred my face. This time, I must return the favor in some way. In my previous life, also at the princess's banquet, she publicly slashed my face. She said, I thought it was some seductive vixen who had captured the top scholar's heart, but it turns out it's nothing special. I heard you're highly skilled in medicine. Let's see if you can heal yourself. After saying that, she ordered someone to slash a cut on the left side of my face. The blade was sharp, leaving a long scar from my cheek down to my chin. No matter how I treat it, it can never be restored to its original state. Although Kui Shu felt heartbroken, there was nothing he could do but tell me to endure it. He told me not to provoke her again in the future. Later, however, I heard that the princess was threatened with a sword in her own residence, had a cut made on the side of her face, and was even forced to kneel in the ancestral hall for several days and nights. However, the truth of such matters remains unknown anyway. After that incident, in my previous life, I never saw the princess again. I sat at the very back of the banquet, listening to them discuss me, the uninvited guest. Her Highness the princess actually deigned to let her come. I heard she's the fiancée of the newly appointed top scholar. How pitiful. Everyone knows the princess likes Kui Shu. This is a warning to Kui Shu and a caution to Wen Xiangyi. I see that most men in this world are fickle. What does youthful affection or childhood friendship even matter? Sure. Keep your voice down. It's the princess's birthday, and walls have ears. I found it amusing as well. Kui Shu's reputation was quite different from what I had imagined. Indeed, in my previous life, it was because he had not taken a concubine for many years. Unlike other men, suddenly, during the banquet, I saw the princess whisper to her maid for a moment. and then someone accidentally spilled wine on me. My eyes briefly met with Her Highness the Princess on the stage, and I understood, so I followed the maid who had spilled the wine to a back room to change my clothes. Miss Wen, right here. Please change first. I'll step out for now. I nodded, watching her leave. Once the door was closed, I glanced around the room. The incense burning in the room and the quilt on the bed were both suspicious. I remained calm, did not extinguish the incense, covered my mouth with a handkerchief containing the antidote, and opened the cabinet. Inside was clearly Quishu. Quishu, I said I would grant your wish, but the form and the means should be up to me before long. I had already stepped out, seeing several people outside the room. Did it work? Yes, Your Highness. She is already inside. Summon He Xiangnan. I blinked, hiding in the shadows as I dragged away the maid beside the princess. With a swift chop of my hand, both of them collapsed. Before I could even lay a hand on the princess, a sword suddenly appeared from the air, flicking Rong Shuang's earring. With a clink, the earring fell to the ground. Then, with a single palm strike, that person knocked Rong Shuang unconscious. Blades and swords have no eyes. The sword's edge actually grazed the left side of Rong Shuang's face, leaving a red mark that stretched all the way to her chin. I looked over, my eyelashes trembling slightly, and couldn't help but click my tongue in astonishment. Lord Xiao. The frantic beating in my chest drummed against my eardrums. It was him, the one who dared point a sword at the princess and still escaped punishment. Was Xiao Jinyu. He responded, tossing a black sphere to the ground with his other hand. Only then did I realize he had captured He Xiangnan. You can deal with that person however you want. I opened my mouth, not knowing what to say. Thank you. This is a bit awkward. After a short while, someone set a fire behind this room, and everyone from the banquet came over. I watched Quishu and the princess being seen by everyone in the crowd, exchanging private glances. The noble ladies turned their faces away, never expecting to witness such a spectacle at the princess's residence. This is utterly improper, simply outrageous. Finally, someone came to take charge of the situation, and I left along with the others. Why did you still come to Rong Shuang's birthday banquet? The jade pendant I gave you could have allowed you to decline. Before I even reached the carriage, Xiao Jinyu's voice reached my ears. I looked over, momentarily stunned by his words. Xiao Jinyu was exceptionally handsome. With sharp sword-like eyebrows and deep, dark eyes, his facial features were well-defined, and he carried himself with an imposing and dignified presence. He rarely smiled, which made him appear quite intimidating, but his posture was upright, and he was still wearing his official robe, looking travel-worn, yet he showed no signs of fatigue or weakness, exuding an aura of integrity and strength. Sir, why have you also come to attend the princess's birthday celebration? Did you come specifically for the princess? Xiao Jinyu chuckled lightly. You don't know who I'm doing this for. I didn't expect him to be so straightforward. Alright, let's go back. I won't let you get involved in today's matter. Qing Shuang will take responsibility for her own actions. Xiao Jinyu looked at me and said, Miss Wen, I will make sure those who have wronged you face the consequences. I lowered my gaze, avoiding his eyes. When we reached the carriage, he naturally offered his hand to help me up. I didn't want to make him feel awkward or embarrassed. By the way, just as I pulled the curtain aside, I turned my head back again. If you ever want to do something not so good again, you can call me to join you, okay? Although the scandal involving the princess and the new top scholar was hushed up, but there are no walls without cracks, and the matter still spread like wildfire. On a certain day, His Majesty finally finalized the marriage arrangement between Rong Shuang and Quishu. Before this matter, Quishu had been accused by my family. I forgot to mention that my mother is a fierce woman, unmatched in her scolding skills across the entire region. My father is a rough and tough man, intimidating in appearance. Just standing there is enough to scare people. On the day when my reputation was almost ruined by rumors, my parents were standing guard at Fengchun Medical Clinic, ready to scare off anyone who dared to insult me, one with intimidation, the other with words. My brother joined in whenever he had time, resorting to physical confrontation. Later, when they learned about the scandal involving the princess and Quishu, They directly reported it to the authorities and publicized how the princess had bullied commoners and destroyed the medical clinic. Kui Shu came to see me once a few days after his engagement. His expression was very flustered, and his words were confusing, as if afraid I would misunderstand. Xiangyi, I absolutely did not mean that at the time. And I don't know how I ended up with the princess in. He found it hard to speak, his brows tightly furrowed. Didn't realize, I sneered. Kui Shu, won't you even admit to what you've done? I thought you were just untrustworthy. But now I see you're also a liar, denying your own actions. Didn't you refuse to marry me just so you could be with the princess? Why pretend now? Kui Shu wanted to say something, but my words left him speechless. He looked at my cold expression, noticing that I showed not a hint of sorrow over his marriage to the princess. Kui Shu lowered his long lashes and said, Xiangyi, don't you care about my marriage at all? I interrupted what he was about to say. Kui Shu, don't come looking for me anymore. There's nothing left for us to talk about. Who you want to be with is none of my business. Without giving him another glance, I turned and walked away. Kui Shu's fingertips hidden beneath his official robes trembled slightly, his eyelashes quivered a little, and the hand he had extended was drawn back. Xiao Dao saw more clearly than anyone else that Kui Shu cared about the young lady. Even in every decision he made and every matter he handled, he hoped for her attention and approval. However, Xiao Dao despised such a Kui Shu even more. Xiao Dao stepped forward with a smile and said, Lord Kui, this matter should not be said by me, but I must say it. You know better than I what kind of person the young lady is, decisive and intelligent. Since the two of you have now parted, do not come again with ambiguous words in the future. The Wen and Kui families are indeed still on good terms, but I believe you understand that you are the last person who should come looking for the young lady. Xiao Dao grew up with Wen Xiangyi. She has seen Kui Shu in his destitute state. She has seen the warmth in Kui Shu's eyes when he looked at the young lady, and she has also seen the joy on Kui Shu's face when he received the young lady's praise and encouragement. Recently, there have been no restrictions at home regarding discussions about my marriage. From the time I came of age until now, my family has been planning to arrange a marriage between me and Kui Shu, so they have turned away all suitable men who came to propose that day. Xiao Jinyu actually came to the medical clinic to find me. He was holding a box containing a gold and jade hairpin adorned with pink peach blossoms. Peach blossoms from the backyard drifted down, blending with the peach blossoms on the hairpin. Xiao Jinyu stood tall and graceful. Miss Wen, I heard you're considering marriage prospects. I have feelings for you, and if you're willing, I will immediately go to the Wen family to propose. My eyes flickered, and I smiled. What if I'm not willing? Then you'll marry someone else. No. Then I'll wait for you to marry and have children, and then I'll stop waiting. Xiao Jinyu's tone was very casual, saying this as if he were talking about what to eat today instead. I was stunned. In my previous life, he left the capital on the first birthday of my child and never returned. Xiao Jinyu, come to my house tomorrow to propose marriage. His lips curved slightly. What did you say? If you can't hear, then forget it. I took the box, turned around, and smiled slightly. Xiao Dao, see the guest out. From behind me came Xiao Jinyu's voice. Xiongyi, I'll go tomorrow. I heard that the wedding day at the princess's residence was not peaceful. Kui Shu thought he had married the girl he had always dreamed of. But he never expected that Rong Shuang would directly suggest that his mother live outside. I bought a house for your mother. What would it look like if someone like her lived in my mansion? And what about your poor relatives? Haven't you seen their expressions? It's obvious they're just here to cling to us. I've looked into it. They kicked you and your mother out back then, and you still want to treat them well. Kui Shu's family situation was complicated. His grandparents had several sons, and after his father passed away, he and his mother held an even lower status in the family. However, the imperial examinations emphasize filial piety, and in official circles, filial and incorrupt individuals are recommended. Our dynasty places great importance on the filial devotion of its subjects. Therefore, I often told him not to give others any leverage. No matter how strained the relationship, he must maintain appearances with his former family. But the Kui family has always been persistent and unreasonable. Even in my previous life as the matriarch of the Kui family, I couldn't avoid dealing with their disputes later. I thoroughly understood each person's nature, ensuring Kui Shu wouldn't be put in a difficult position. Only then did I grasp what mattered most to them and made them all obedient without consulting Kui Shu. Rong Shuangshuang had the Kui family driven out before the wedding. Moreover, she relocated Kui's mother to a suburban estate. However, the Kui family was not to be trifled with. They stormed the wedding in a noisy uproar, pointing fingers at Kui Shu and Rong Shuangshuang. They cursed them for being unfilial and accused them of trying to kill someone. Now when Kui Shu attends court, people point fingers at him. Even the emperor has reprimanded Qingshuang and showed Kui Shu a cold face in the court. The next day, Xiao Dao came to me joyfully and said, "Lord Xiao has come to propose marriage. The betrothal gifts amount to a full 128 loads, filling the courtyard to the point where there's no more space. Even a prince marrying a consort doesn't have such a grand scale." Xiao Dao spoke with such excitement that she even started gesturing animatedly. I'm a bit surprised. My eyebrows raised. So many. Did they bring over their entire fortune? By the time I arrived, Xiao Jinyu was already chatting happily with my father and mother. He sure knows how to please the elders. He is usually a serious person, but I didn't expect him to say so much today. I stood behind the screen. My father had previously told me that Xiao Jinyu has a good character. My parents originally intended to come together, but there were too many people, so they sent me first to ask for uncle and aunt's opinion. Once things are settled, my parents will come to visit. My father laughed heartily. Although it's said that parents' words and matchmakers' arrangements are the norm, when it comes to Xiangyi's matters, she should decide for herself. If she agrees, her mother and I will have no objections. My mother came in to ask for my opinion, and I nodded with a smile. Mother was worried that you might be heartbroken over the matter with Kui Shu. Now that you've made up your mind, you should know that Xiao Jinyu is not from an ordinary family. What if? My mother looked sorrowful. I comforted her. Mother, your daughter is willing and has thought it through. Xiao Jinyu came to ask for my opinion yesterday, and he only came to propose today. Besides, he also helped me with the medical clinic matter before. My mother nodded. The generous betrothal gifts today show his regard. As long as you've made up your mind, it's fine. He himself is capable, and in the future, he may not necessarily inherit the title of Duke of Zhen. By then, when you enter the Xiao family, you'll be the mistress of the household. It's just that I won't be able to protect you anymore. And I knew what she was worried about. A man's heart is fickle. Don't be fooled by how delighted he is with you now. Later, with 3 wives and 4 concubines, he might cast you aside. Even Kui Shu, who grew up with me since childhood, is like this, let alone the eldest son from the Duke of Zhengguo's family. Mother, I understand. After I marry him, he will be my husband. I am aware of my situation. Whether we treat each other with respect or share deep affection in the future, it's all acceptable. Right now, he is a very good choice, and I am also drawn to him. My mother felt relieved. I am glad you have such an open-minded attitude. Whatever happens, your father and I will always have your back. If you're unhappy, just divorce him and come home. I chuckled and said, Mom, I'm not even married yet. As my mother left, she said to Xiao Jinyu, our Wen family agrees to this marriage. In an instant, I felt Xiao Jinyu's gaze turn toward me, his eyes dark and intense. But Lord Xiao, I entrust my daughter to you, hoping you will treat her well. If any discord arises in the future, please allow her to return. My mother's voice trembled, even choked with emotion, and my father's eyes reddened as well. I don't know if in my previous life, my parents also carried such a heavy heart when they sent me off to be married. I took a deep breath, barely steadying myself, the corners of my eyes tinged with red. I can understand how you both feel. Any promises I make now wouldn't count for much, and no one can predict what the future holds. But Xiao Jinyu suddenly knelt down. Today, I have come to ask for the hand of the Wen family's daughter. I admire her deeply, which is why I am here to propose. In my Xiao family, there has never been a tradition of taking multiple wives or concubines. He took out a piece of cloth from his pocket. This is a handwritten letter of commitment. If Miss Wen is ever dissatisfied in the future, she may divorce me at any time. The daughter of the Wen family divorcing the Grand Tutor. This is Xiao Jinyu's promise, he gave me the initiative, making me the one who could divorce. My parents were somewhat surprised that the grand tutor was kneeling before them and had made such a promise. They took the cloth, looking at it over and over again. My parents quickly helped Xiao Jinyu up, smiling as they said, "Good, good, good." The news of Xiao Jinyu and I getting married quickly spread throughout the capital. Before the wedding, Xiao Jinyu's cousin came to see me a few times. She invited me to go shopping with her and told me some things about the Xiao family. I just found out that although the Xiao family has many members, it's not complicated. Sister-in-law, I thought cousin Jinyu would never like anyone. You have no idea, he's practically a schoolmaster, strict, ruthless, and intimidating. I was looking at clothes with my cousin from the Xiao family at Tinjfang when she complained to me by my ear. But he's very self-disciplined, there's no one else around him, you could say others can't get close to him, she whispered secretly in my ear. No one dares to get close to him. I lowered my head and smiled, the corners of my lips slightly upturned. As I turned around, I suddenly caught sight of a familiar figure out of the corner of my eye, Kui Shu. He seemed to want to come forward and say something, but then someone appeared in front of me. Xiao Jinyu stood before me. Reaching out to hand me some rouge, he said, "I bought it incidentally. Cousin, hey, can you buy me a box too while you're at it?" I smiled and accepted it. "Lord Xiao, did you also just happen to come in to buy clothes?" Xiao Jinyu raised an eyebrow and leaned close to my ear, saying, "Yes, and I just happened to buy some for you too." His voice was low, and his eyes were filled with an unshakable smile. What a coincidence. I pursed my lips and smiled as he followed behind me, helping me carry things. "Cousin," my cousin muttered under her breath. "Xiao Jinyu, can you stop using me as an excuse to ask someone out every time?" Not far away, Kui Shu's face was filled with sorrow, pain, and disbelief. He crushed the pastries he had intended to bring for Rong Shuangshuang, and only snapped back to reality when his servant reminded him. Kui Shu recalled a time in his previous life when he was strolling with Wen Xiangyi. He had picked out a hairpin and placed it on her, and when Xiangyi had smiled at him in the same way. I never expected Kui Shu to come looking for me before my wedding that time. Xiao Jinyu knocked on my window and brought me an extremely beautiful bouquet of flowers. In the darkness, he crossed through the cold dew just to stand by my window and give me a bouquet of freshly bloomed flowers. "I missed you, Xiangyi." I laughed at him for being so sentimental. "Where is your seriousness? Lord Xiao, why are you being so childish now?" Xiao Jinyu leaned his face against the window, and we spoke through the glass. "We're about to get married, and I'm so happy." I responded to him and asked, "Have you been drinking?" "I didn't, I had a little. A little? How much is a little?" "Xiao Jinyu, you're drunk. You need to go home now, understand? I am home, you're at my place." "What do you mean at home?" "Xiangyi, wherever you are is my home." I paused for a moment. Had Xiao Jinyu been drinking? Is he this clingy when he's drunk? He'll say anything. My cheek feels very warm. The candles lit in the room flicker, casting somewhat flustered and uncertain shadows. "Lord Xiao, it's very cold. You should go back soon, or I'll have someone prepare a room for you." He didn't respond. It was a long time before I heard Xiao Jinyu's voice. "Xiangyi, we're going to get married. Could you be a little more affectionate with me?" "What kind of intimacy?" He became embarrassed. "It's about the terms of address, intimate terms of address. To be honest, I'm not an inexperienced young girl anymore. In my previous life, my experience with love seemed pitifully scarce. As for Kui Shu, I only called him Kui Shu, just Kui Shu. He never said anything about it. We had grown accustomed to this way of interacting, so accustomed that I failed to realize it wasn't love, it was just habit. My chest suddenly grew warm, an unfamiliar feeling of swelling heat sweeping through my mind. My head felt a bit dizzy. All because of Xiao Jinyu. He becomes so clingy after drinking. The words slipped out of my mouth. "Hurry back, my husband." As soon as I said it, I was stunned, not to mention Xiao Jinyu outside. He chuckled softly and said, "Xiangyi, I'm not drunk, I have a high tolerance for alcohol." "Ah, stop talking, I don't want to know." "Xiangyi, I'm going back. Wait for me to marry you." My face turned red. I'm so embarrassed. But before long, I heard the sound of the window being lightly tapped again. I instantly became furious and slammed the window open. "You're still here, Xiangyi." "It's me, Seeing the person who had arrived, I immediately closed the window, my voice turning cold. What are you doing here, Xiangyi? Someone like Xiao Jinyu would never treat you sincerely. Don't marry him, please, I sneered. What gives you the right to meddle in my affairs? Kui Shu, who do you think you are to me? Kui Shu lowered his head. Yes, I have no right to interfere, but I'm genuinely worried about you. I'm afraid you'll get hurt, Kui Shu. What makes you think you're doing what's best for me? You're the one who brings me harm. The farther you stay away from me, the safer I'll be. Don't you understand? All you've ever brought me is disaster. Because of your cowardice and incompetence, I was bullied by the princess. Because you only think of yourself, I was mistreated by your family. Because of your selfishness, I ended up being hurt by you. Kui Shu, all you've ever brought me is heavy rain. Yet you never offer me an umbrella. Instead, you make me endure it. When I said these words, my tone was calm. But this was exactly what I had genuinely experienced in my previous life. I slowly let out a breath and said, Kui Shu, you've long forgotten why you worked so hard to earn your scholarly honors. All you think about now is climbing the social ladder, only remembering your path to success. You've forgotten your heart. In his previous life, Kui Shu was completely consumed by his ambitions for success, his career in the officialdom, and his damnable political schemes. He had entirely forgotten that, in the beginning, Kui Shu only wanted to provide a better life for his mother and to become worthy of me. Kui Shu stood by the window, a ledge he couldn't even reach as a child, which now towered over half his height. He glanced at the vibrant flowers in my hand and remembered how, as a child, whenever he saw beautiful flowers by the roadside, he would bring them to me and leave them by my window. Those flowers were planted in the soil by me, made into wreaths by me, and I watched as a tear fell from the corner of his eye and said slowly, Kui Shu, you should leave, stay far away from me. Let's not make this any uglier than it already is. On the day of my wedding, Kui Shu sent a grand gift. He stood among the guests, watching as I was led by Xiao Jinyu through the door and carried into the backyard room. After watching for a long time, he finally left. I sat in the room, and soon someone brought me food. I ate a little through the veil. Not long after I finished eating, someone pushed the door open and entered. Xiao Jinyu carefully lifted my bridal veil and pulled me over to sit in his embrace. We drank the nuptial wine together. His hand holding the wine cup trembled slightly, his cheeks flushed red. I asked, Xiao Jinyu, are you drunk? Xiao Jinyu chuckled softly. My dear, whether you're drunk or not, you'll know once you try. How do I try? He held me close, removed my headpiece, and while kissing me, he undressed me all night. My dazed eyes finally understood what my cousin from the Xiao family meant when she said an old house catching fire. At first, those who didn't know the way gradually grasped the method. Becoming self-taught early in the morning, Xiao Jinyu, who had bumped right into me, held onto my waist and wouldn't let go, his lips pressed against the side of my neck. I squinted, trying to get up, but my body was too sore and weak to move, only seeing the person before me without clothes, the red marks on their neck, my face flushed with heat. I wanted to turn away, but my whole body was held by someone. Remembering last night when Xiao Jinyu called me Xiangyi, when Xiangyi, my dear, my wife. He loved calling my name the most. When he asked for my opinion, the repeated calls of when Xiangyi only made me more ashamed. I couldn't take it anymore and wanted to surrender and beg for mercy. I called out husband, and he only intensified his actions, leaving me completely defeated. Only then did I realize that whether I begged for mercy or scolded him, he would not let me go. I pinched him hard. You bastard! Xiao Jinyu's amused voice sounded by my ear. My lady, it's all my fault. I'll be gentler next time. You know, I have no experience. I was just too happy. His kiss landed on the side of my neck. I slapped his hand away, shocked. You beast, scoundrel, it's me. I'm the jerk. There's no need to go serve tea to father and mother. I've already sent someone to inform them. You can go in the afternoon if you want. I felt embarrassed and uneasy. That doesn't seem right. Don't worry, my family isn't that strict about rules. They all like you very much. If it's strange, it will only be my fault. Xiangyi, I love you. This sudden, earnest confession left me momentarily stunned, and the next second I was pulled into his embrace. I looked at him in astonishment. You, I celebrated too soon. He is such a scoundrel. The day of the homecoming visit was the happiest time for me, as I finally didn't have to hang around with Xiao Jinyu anymore. This scoundrel is usually a workaholic, but this time, he made up for all the leave he had missed by getting married. I only then found out that he had requested a long marriage leave from His Majesty in advance. Sitting in the carriage on the way home, I glared resentfully at the cunning Xiao Jinyu. It was all premeditated. My mother was also very happy to see me. You've become quite lively since you got married. It seems the Xiao family is treating you well. She glanced at the red marks on my neck and said, perhaps I'll have a grandchild soon. Mother, please don't tease me. My mother smiled and patted my hand. I feel like fate has suddenly favored me. I still go to the medical clinic to treat patients, and Xiao Jinyu remains a workaholic. He sometimes gets sent on business trips, and before leaving, he always torments me relentlessly. He often says, I've given all my public duties to you, so it's only fair not to play favorites. My face flushed, and I said he was becoming more and more improper. Let's talk about when he's at home again. I never knew Lord Xiao was someone who didn't want to go to work. Every time he had to attend the morning court session, he would act coquettishly, holding me in bed and kissing me, saying, I don't want to go to the morning court. Lord Xiao, you're so clingy. He lingered in bed for a while before finally getting up, and before leaving, he tucked me in. If it were winter, he would rush back from the morning court session, warm himself indoors, and since I hadn't yet gotten up, he would lie back down beside me. When others asked why Lord Xiao was in such a hurry, he would laugh and say, my wife misses me and is eager for me to come home. Hearing these words, I remained silent. One day I suddenly felt unwell, and only after taking my pulse did I realize I was pregnant. My parents rushed over anxiously to see me before I even had a chance to react. The Duke of Zhengguo's household was also very concerned, meticulously preparing my daily meals. Xiao Jinyu was even more exaggerated. When I was a few months pregnant, he actually started experiencing morning sickness. He vomited every single day and took leave from His Majesty, who was left speechless. It wasn't until I was 5 or 6 months along that he finally got better. During the pregnancy, my feet swelled, and he would remember to massage them every night. When I had involuntary cramps at night, he would wake up and massage them back to normal. Watching my pregnancy symptoms, he was so heartbroken that he actually cried. By the later stages of my pregnancy, I no longer went out. I only heard that Kui Shu had voluntarily requested to be assigned to a small county in the south, claiming he wanted to serve in the nation's impoverished areas and bring benefits to the people. After a big argument with Rong Shuangshuang, I still went. Before leaving, I made sure to settle Mother Kui properly and even sent me a letter. I didn't open that letter to read it. Xiao Jinyu was already extremely jealous. I smiled and ultimately didn't open it to read. 3 months later, I gave birth to a son, and the delivery was not as difficult as it had been in my previous life. But Xiao Jinyu was afraid. Without my knowledge, he went to Hanshan Temple late at night to pray for a talisman, solely wishing for my safety. A few years later, I gave birth to a daughter, which was my own wish. However, after I gave birth to our daughter, Xiao Jinyu took contraceptive pills. Many years later, I looked at the peach tree in the medical hall, still covered in a flurry of peach blossoms. Xiao Jinyu said we would pick peaches to eat when summer came. The children beside me happily agreed. By the way, Xiao Dao has also gotten married. It was actually with Xiao Luoheng. Extra story. Xiao Jinyu in the previous life, I fell in love with a girl, but she already has someone she likes. I watched her protect that person, watched her sell her favorite medical clinic, watching her open a shop to raise money, paving the way for that person's success. I ached at her exhaustion, so I had someone buy the clinic, invest in her business, and secretly clear all obstacles for her in my name. She truly was remarkable. In just a short time, she had stores all over the country. Later, she became pregnant and said she was feeling particularly unwell during the pregnancy. I asked everyone around and searched throughout the capital for any methods to make a pregnant woman more comfortable. I then sent many medicines in the name of the Duke's residence. Just before she gave birth, the spy reported that she was truly suffering and in unbearable pain. I heard that Cold Mountain Temple was very efficacious, so I rushed there overnight, fearing that the heavens would deem me too greedy. I dared not pray for both mother and child to be safe, I only wished for her to be unharmed. Fortunately, she is in good health. I heard from those around her that she usually exercises as well. Later, I left the capital, and everything I learned about her came from others and letters from spies. She and that person were truly devoted to each other, remaining deeply in love for a lifetime. Fortunately, she lived a happy life. I was at the border, gazing at the scenery beyond the frontier, vast and boundless, quite magnificent indeed. It's truly laughable to say the least. Here I am at 28, falling for a woman to such an extent. Later, I came to understand, I am no saint, nor am I someone whose devotion is particularly worthy of praise. I just like her, and I haven't met any other woman I like more than her. I think I probably will meet someone else, but that girl's smile always lingers in my heart. If someone asks about the girl I care about, her voice always seems to echo in my ears. I thought, let nature take its course, and wait a little longer, but fate has not yet arrived, or perhaps there is no fate for me in this lifetime, and so, a whole lifetime passed by unknowingly. Extra story. Kui Shu. My name is Kui Shu. I was born in a small village in Jiangling County. My father was a scholar, but despite studying all his life, he never advanced beyond that. My mother was an ordinary woman, but she was sensible and understanding. The family was poor, and with quite a few children born to the grandparents, it formed a large household with many children. They were no longer considered precious. Moreover, the family had not yet divided the property. Since my father was not favored, the portion our family had to contribute to the larger household relied entirely on my mother's hard work. The poorer the family, the more conflicts there are. A needle, a piece of meat, or a single copper coin can all lead to disputes. My father, mother, and I were often the ones being blamed at home. It wasn't until my father passed away that my mother and I were driven out. We went to the county and had a hard time for a while, but my mother still insisted on me getting an education. Later, I worked as an assistant at the Fengchun clinic, and it was when Xiangyi who sent me there. She saw that I was pitiful and said I was clever and sensible. It was the first time I had seen such a beautiful girl. My eyes were fixed on her, and I even forgot to blink. She said I'm a blockhead. She called me a fool. I followed behind her, fetching medicine and running errands for her. Later, Uncle Wen saw that I could do arithmetic and write, so he took me on as his apprentice. Naturally, the pay is better, Xiangyi said. I need to earn money, I want to study, and she would ask Uncle Wen to let her go to school with him. Sure enough, not long after, I had the opportunity to go to school, and I went to school with Xiangyi. I hope that I can pass the imperial examinations and provide a better life for my mother and Xiangyi. Year after year passed. I watched Xiangyi grow from a young girl into an elegant young lady. On the day of her coming-of-age ceremony, the gift I gave her was a hairpin. While carving it, my heart and mind were filled with thoughts of her, and a sweet feeling flowed through my chest. That year, I achieved the top score in the imperial examinations, and I married Xiangyi. The wedding night, the moment of achieving top honors in the imperial examination, I thought everything would be smooth sailing from then on, but unexpectedly, it turned out to be an upstream struggle. When did it all begin? I feel utterly exhausted. When the princess wanted to marry me, I did feel very strange. I wasn't thinking of Xiangyi. Instead, I was thinking of the cheerful smile the princess had when she came to the Hanlin Academy to find me. Xiangyi asked me about the princess. I said, the princess is of noble birth and holds a prestigious status. I am not worthy of her. Strange. Why did I say something like that? Xiangyi was stunned and didn't speak anymore, and never brought up this matter again. Later, my career in the officialdom became increasingly difficult, and Xiangyi worried endlessly for me, which made me even more anxious. I always felt that Xiangyi was disappointed in me, but this self-blame turned into an obsession. I wonder, if I had become the imperial son-in-law back then, would my path to success have been smoother? I never expected that I would truly be given a second chance at life, but when the time actually came, I still found myself involuntarily drawn to Xiangyi, and the matter of being with the princess remained unaddressed. So while pushing Xiangyi away, he maintained a subtle connection with the princess. I actually ended up marrying Rong Shuangshuang. I thought Xiangyi wouldn't distance herself from me. She isn't a heartless person, but I forgot, her kindness toward me was because she saw me as family. Now that we've broken up, Her feelings will fade faster than anyone else's. I watched her marry someone else step by step, her eyes filled with joy, and the other person never let her emotions go unreciprocated. He does better than I did from now on. I will only regard her as a sister later. I followed her advice and went to find my original aspirations. I went to the south, and the princess divorced me. After settling down, I brought my mother over. I only returned to the capital during festivals and for official reports. Catching a distant glimpse of her, my heart aches, but I dare not speak. In this life, I only wish for your happiness and well-being, sister. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.